Hi everyone, and welcome to Timeform's preview of the Tuesday of the Cheltenham Festival. Now, it just shows this morning we've found out news that LTO will be missing on Wednesday. So until you're there, you're never quite there. And there'll be other horses throughout the week who probably fall by the wayside, but at least we've got a good Tuesday card to get stuck into. Admittedly, we do feature reduced field sizes. That's going to be a theme throughout the week, but there are extenuating circumstances, of course. And I think it's fair to say, bar LTO, most of the quality has stood up. First race, of course, the Supreme Novices Hurdle. I'm joined by Billy Nash, our Irish guru, and Rory King, probably the best reporter at Timeform. And we've got a bet each for Tuesday's action. We were tempted to go through the card, but I'm sure you've heard enough by now. So we'll just snapshot it straight down to a better piece. I'm greedy, so I'll start. And the fact it's the first race, another reason for that. I'm going to go with Soaring Glory in the Supreme. I am slightly concerned that they had rain, 10 mils apparently overnight from Sunday into Monday. That may be a downside because if, as much as anything, it will suit his main rival, Appreciate It, and probably Metier as well. But I think he's a very fast horse, and I think if this comes down to a test of pace, then he's best equipped to cope. He's already shown his mettle in a properly run race, that Betfair Hurdle, from which 3 horses have run so far. All of them were also runs at Newbury, and all of them have been placed in handicap since. So it looks an exceptional piece of handicap form. And I think in a year where it's clearly going to be less competitive and take less winning because we're missing the 2 most promising novices around, probably, in the shape of Fernie Hollow, Appreciate It stablemate, as well as Dusart, that Henderson horse who'd looked so good when beating Soaring Glory. I'm not that concerned about the fact that Betfair Hurdle winners of higher marks haven't managed to follow up in this. He'd be best equipped for me to cope with any emphasis on speed. And the only other time he's been in a properly run race, he won a bumper decisively at Ascot, and in second and third were horses of the calibre of Kid Commando and Brave Man's Game, who's amongst the market leaders for the Ballymore on Wednesday. So that's my case for Soaring Glory. I wouldn't put anybody off backing him each way with that shape of field. And for something maybe, I'm going to say more ambitious, but maybe not, we'll head to Ireland to Billy Nash in the beautiful Cork countryside. Mr. Nash is going to tell us what the good thing is in the Champion Hurdle.
Don't know if I'm being any more ambitious, Dan, but it's honeysuckle for me in the Champion Hurdle. I can't see her beating, to be honest. Look, she's 10 out of 10. She's a superb mare. She runs here this year rather than the David Nicholson. She took the so-called easier option of the David Nicholson last year. But I think after her performance at Leopardstown, they had just no option. They had to run her in this race this year. She was really good that day. Slammed Abracadabras to the tune of 10 lengths, and there's no reason why any of those horses are going to turn that form around. I just think the way this race is going to set up should be ideal for her. You've got a number of confirmed front runners, the likes of Goshen, Aspire, Tower, Not So Sleepy. They've only one way going. I think it'll be a really strongly run race, and Rachel Blackmore can just sit in behind the pace. I'd imagine she'll probably go for home early enough, like she did at Leopardstown the last day, in the hope of running the kick out of Epitant, which I think she will up the hill. And just if she gets to the front, I just don't think she's a very hard mare to pass. I don't see anything beating her. I think she's a great value bet at the price that she is. And look, hopefully, racing has had a number of not so good news stories in recent times, and I think Honeysuckle and Rachel Blackmore winning the Champion Hurdle, that should put it back on the front pages for all the right reasons.
Yeah, did Blackmore being discussed briefly in a couple of Timeform meetings about a potential top rider for the festival. That's not out of the question, is it, when you consider she's got the firepower from de Bromhead, but she's going to be picking up a few of these Mullins second strings as well.
Absolutely. She's going to have a really strong book of rides. Like you said, she's picked up a nice few for Willie Mullins now as well. So, yeah, she'd be, she didn't have as good a meeting last year as maybe she thought she would going over there, but this year could be something totally different. So, anyway, hopefully she'll kick it off on the right note with Honeysuckle on Tuesday.
And while we're on the subject of jockeys, the National Hunt Chase obviously reduced distance in the last couple of years because of the carnage of 2 years ago. And that this year, because of the bans on amateur riders, the likes of Patrick Mullins won't be travelling over, means that it's opened up to professional riders for the first time. I don't know if that's had any bearing on Rory King's selection in that race, but something to consider anyway.
Yeah, to be honest, it hasn't really, but you could argue that it is a factor in terms of fancying a British trained horse, just because, as we know, the best amateur riders are generally Irish and normally get snapped up by one of the leading Irish yards well in advance of Cheltenham. Obviously, there's none of that going on this year. It's all about regular riders being able to keep the ride. To be honest, Next Destination, the horse that I like in the National Hunt Chase, wasn't even on my radar until the decks came through yesterday morning, because it seemed all along like he was going to run against Monkfish in the 3 mile race, and you couldn't possibly really fancy him against Monkfish. But everything's changed. Royal Pagai's owners have seems like they're going for the Gold Cup, which is very commendable, but it does open up the National Hunt Chase as a betting race in my opinion now. And I think that the market has been a bit slow to react to this. Obviously, Galvin was second favourite behind Royal Pagai and was automatically promoted to favouritism. But I think that he's got a real task on his hands with Next Destination parachuting into the race. I think Next Destination is inherently a classier horse than Galvin. He was a winner of 2 Grade 1 novice hurdles. He was third in what was a stronger renewal of the Ballymore than Galvin was 6th in the following year, if that makes sense. And he showed when winning the second of those Grade 1 novice hurdles at Punchestown that he's just a really tough battler. He wasn't going as well as either Kilbricken Storm or Delta Work, both of whom had won at that season's Cheltenham Festival, turning for home, but he ground it out. He was readily holding those two on the run, and the margins were quite small, but he showed like he was really up for the battle that day. And I think, although he's had a long time off through injury, I think that those battling qualities are something that are really going to stand to him in tomorrow's National Hunt Chase. On top of that, having said, I think he'll be suited by the battle. I also don't think that it's going to be a typical renewal in a lot of ways. Because of the non-amateurs, like you mentioned, you often get the case, don't you, where a couple of the maybe less experienced amateurs are herring off, and it can turn into a real test that led to the scenes that we saw that year that Lebroy won when the race was subsequently reduced in distance. It won't be like that, I don't think. There's a smaller field than is often the case, and it's professional riders. But in a way, that suits the classier horse, and I think he is the classiest horse in the race. So a few reasons for fancying him. I think he will be very well suited to the test. He's taken to chasing really well in 2 runs this season. Yes, they've both been very small fields, but he's looked like a natural chaser to me. I fancy him to go well tomorrow.
Yeah, and even if it's not a complete thorough test in the old-fashioned sense, it does still require Galvin at short price to prove himself over 3 3/4 miles, which I don't think Next Destination has the same sort of question marks about.
No, and you've also got the late stable change for Galvin, which is something to consider. So it's very hard to quantify these horses that have moved from Elliott's Yard in recent weeks. How much of it might not have an impact at all, but I see it as very hard, or I'm finding it very hard to see it as a positive, and it could well be a negative to some extent. We just don't know. So that's another thing to consider.
Yeah, I thought he looked one of the poorer prices amongst the favourites on Tuesday, and that's despite the fact that I'm taking on probably the second shortest price of the day all day, maybe the shortest price all day in Appreciate It in the opener. So that's our trio for Tuesday, first day of the Cheltenham Festival. As you always say, whether you're with us or against us, hope you have a very productive and profitable week. 4 days. Don't shoot your bolt too early. Have a bit of patience and have the sort of stamina the Next Destination will hopefully show to win that National Hunt Chase. Honeysuckle will hopefully show to win the Champion Hurdle. But a bit of pace as well that Soaring Glory will hopefully show to win that Supreme on the opening day. Good luck, everyone.
Good luck.